To get started, we have approximately 28 people on the meet, and this is being recorded. So if there's anyone that's unable to attend, you can always view this informational session later or at your convenience. So good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I'm here with Interim Superintendent Patricia Charles, Athletic Director Ted Cosgriff, my fellow administrators, Ruth Rose and Susan Miller. Ben Russell, our Informational Technology Director, is also here. So I see that we've got parents, we've got some high school students. So hopefully many of you were able to view the district parent question and answer session with Superintendent Charles and Board Chair Zach Hayden. And I'm hoping that tonight's evening will provide you with additional information that's going to be specific to the high school and give you an idea of what our reopening will look like. Given the decision that we are going to open in person on Tuesday, September 1st, we look forward to seeing all of our students in person. They are the ones that bring the enthusiasm and the vitality to what we do every day. But we also want to make sure that all of the decisions that we're making are not only educational, but foremost, keep our students healthy and safe. I'm going to give you a brief overview. When we are finished, we'll have an opportunity to answer previously asked questions, and then you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions that haven't been answered in the presentation in the Google chat. Just give me one moment. All right. So here's our agenda for the evening. We're going to start off with health and safety, discuss entrances and exits, transitioning through the building, our new block schedule and class sizes, lunches, athletics and extracurricular activities, and answers to previously asked questions and live Q&A. These topics are taken from some of the questions that had been asked, and hopefully that information will answer your questions. So as we know with health and safety, prevention really is most important. And we have three components of prevention: mask wearing, hand washing, and 6-foot distancing. If I could have everybody mute, that would be helpful. Thank you. Please know that there'll be signage throughout the building, posted throughout all of the hallways, reminding staff and students of safety protocols. Please know that the signage will not only be in English, but it will be in Spanish and Portuguese as well. It's also important that all students have completed the electronic self-assessment form, which needs to be completed daily in order to attend school. Entrances and exits. We have added additional entrances to our morning and afternoon pickup and drop-offs. The bus drop-off and pickup will remain at the high school main doors. We have moved the parent drop-off and pickup next to the cafeteria doors, which we call our bank doors. Our student drivers are going to be entering the senior doors, which are down a ways from the main doors. And our teachers will use the central office doors. This way, we're able to avoid any congestion. We're able to monitor how students are entering the building. We'll have adult monitors at each of the entrances. This way, too, we can keep an eye, answer any questions as students are coming into the building, making sure that they have everything that they need, that they are wearing their masks, and they are able to make their way from the entrances to their first period class. Any students arriving late or leaving early will use the high school main doors. Transitioning throughout the building. We don't have a very big building, so we've been fortunate in that our traffic patterns are very basic and easy to maneuver. We'll have visuals. We'll have blue arrows displayed on the walls, and moving left side to right side. When you look at the front of the building, teachers and students will stay on the exterior of the hallway. Moving right side to left side of the building, teachers and students will stay on the interior of the hallway. That will allow for 6-foot distancing while moving throughout the building in the hallways. The 6-foot distancing will be displayed on the floor, and we'll have markings throughout the building so that students know exactly where they need to be from one another so that they are 6 feet. We're hopefully going to use the outdoors as much as possible. We're praying for that beautiful weather that we often get in September, October, and December, so that we can use the outdoors to transition to and from classes and lunch. We've had quite a change with our schedule. Instead of our 8-period rotation, we have gone to a 4-period rotating block schedule made up of 90-minute blocks. What this does is it reduces the number of transitions within the building. And that way, because students won't be using their lockers, they have fewer things to carry, and their backpacks will be able to go with them from class to class. We have also added additional lunch waves so that we have fewer students in each of the lunch waves. Our class sizes have been reduced to 10 to 12 students, depending on the classroom dimensions, so that we, again, can allow for 6-foot distancing. All of the classes have been measured, and the desks have been put in each of the classrooms 6 feet apart. Band and chorus, because the classroom space is bigger, but also to allow for 12-foot distancing, those classes are larger. But we do have additional and new guidance coming out on band and chorus tomorrow. Our PE classes will be held outside, weather permitting, and teachers are encouraged to conduct their classes outside, weather permitting. We have been able to purchase and rent many tents, which will go outside the cafeteria. They'll also go within the middle school and the high school courtyard, so that we can provide for additional shade and create additional outdoor classrooms. So this is what the block schedule looks like. And you'll see we have an A, B, C, D day. We've got student passing time, time for announcements and a break. And you'll see the 3 lunch periods, which are incorporated into the schedule. The rotation allows for the lunch periods not to fall within the same period every day. So we're excited about all of the students that are coming back, and we look so forward to seeing them. But we also understand that there are some students that have chosen remote learning. And what we want to keep as our focus, we want to make sure that students are connected to and engaged in their classes and instruction. Presently, Westbrook High School has 18 students who are choosing the virtual learning option. To remember, this isn't our distance learning model that we were engaged in last spring, but more of a blended learning model where students would live stream into classes and be able to be part of the class, listen to their teacher live, receive that direct instruction, and engage in the learning activities going on within the class. There will also be opportunities for synchronous and asynchronous components. We will use the Connecticut Learning Hub resources, Flipped Classroom, Google Meets, and Google Hangouts. In the event that we are not able to stay in school full-time and in person, I just wanted to review our hybrid model. And the goal of the hybrid model is to reduce our population by 50% and modify cohorting by grade. So what that would look like is Monday and Tuesday, freshmen and sophomores would attend in person. Monday, periods 1 through 4, and Tuesday, periods 5 through 8. Wednesday would be a distant learning day for all grades, and it would run periods 1 through 8. And then Thursday and Friday, we would bring in the juniors and seniors attending in person, Thursday, periods 1 through 4, and Friday, periods 5 through 8. In the event that we had to go out completely and engage in distance learning as we did in the spring, we would use the established distance learning schedule as we did last spring with an A and B day going 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., periods 1 through 4 and 5 through 8, 50 minutes in duration, and then teachers being available from 12:30 to 2:30 p.m. to assist students through Google Meets and Hangouts with any questions they might have or any one-on-one learning that would need to take place to make sure that we are providing everything necessary so that our students can be successful and have an equitable access to their education. Our lunches have been increased to 3 waves. We've also increased our lunch locations. So students are able to have lunch in the cafeteria, the gymnasium, or outside at our picnic tables, which always seems to be the most popular choice. Just some additional information. We will be having a grab and go pre-ordered lunch. So students can order ahead of time and their lunches will be ready for them. We also have vending machines that are available for healthy snacks and bottled water. And unfortunately, the microwaves will not be accessible in the cafeteria this year. Athletics and extracurricular activities update. Our fall sports, football, field hockey, and girls soccer, boys and girls soccer. I'm going to just pass this over to Teg if you'd like to comment on our update.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. We were excited to bring some significant information off the heels of a CIAC announcement yesterday, basically on a 17-0 vote unanimously planning to move forward with fall sports. This morning, a great deal of planning was taking place after that meeting at all levels, our Shoreline Conference level, the state level, and then our local level here with our athletics COVID team. However, this afternoon, many of you may have seen it because it was a news break this afternoon and definitely hit all the 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. news cycles. The Department of Public Health made an announcement of a letter that they sent to the CIAC recommending numerous things, including slowing down the start of fall sports. So that kind of, at least personally for me, kind of heard the brakes screeching a little bit, taking a deep breath. And basically what we need to do is the CIC has actually had a meeting tonight at 6 o'clock to discuss those things. And we should be hearing some update, hopefully tomorrow. So at this point, I kind of decided for tonight, we're kind of in a to be determined phase. Again, we've done lots of planning on this at the 3 levels that I mentioned, both at the local, the conference level, which is going to be our regional scheduling format if we have that opportunity, and then also at the state level. So a lot of planning has been going on, and our goal is to be as prepared for whatever opportunity presents itself so that we can have our student athletes have some kind of experience. And when that opportunity presents itself, we will be ready to do that, and our coaches will be ready to do so as well.
Thank you, Ted. And in regard to extracurricular activities, they'll be virtual to start, and we will monitor that on a weekly basis. I think it's important that we start the school year, we see how things go. As you know, we are starting on September 1st with 2 half days so that we can monitor and adjust and see how the protocols and procedures that we've put in place are working, and make any changes necessary for a smooth and safe reopening. So at this time, we're going to give you some answers to previously asked questions that are specific to the high school. In case you weren't able to attend the parent question and answer session last week, many of you had lost power, so we just want to make sure that you're getting all the information to the questions that you've asked.
All right, I guess that's my cue. I'll be asking the questions that were previously posed when we did the informational session with our board chair, Zach Hayden, and I. And so the first question is there a plan or policy in place that addresses cleaning and sanitizing of musical instruments post-use in school, with primary focus on brass and woodwind type instruments that require physical contact with student and user?
So at the high school, each student that participates in band has his or her own instrument. So the student is responsible for making the necessary cleaning of that instrument and will follow the cleaning protocols that have been put in place for that specific instrument. Any instruments like percussion instruments that stay in the school that aren't necessarily owned by the student will follow the same sanitizing protocols and make sure that that's taken care of before and after use.
Do all of your children have to go to school or learn online? Like, can one child in one school stay home while the other goes to live classes?
So certainly that decision is at the discretion of the parent. Students have different physical and emotional needs, and a parent may feel that in-person learning is appropriate for one child and that distance learning is necessary for the other. There are a variety of reasons why one child may have different risks than others, and we want to offer both opportunities.
For a distance learning student, will high school students continue to be informed of events and activities that are going on in the school or get help from guidance with college requirements?
So students can certainly start the year virtually and then come back at any time they feel comfortable. Parents must make a decision in which they are comfortable making, and there really is no set date or time for that. It could change at any point. All students will continue to be informed of school events, college planning, and important dates and notices. All of our college visits this year are virtual, and school counselors will be available both in person and virtually to meet with students.
With safety in mind, will there be limitations placed on tool and equipment usage in the tech shop classes at the middle and high school? The concern lies in the use of loose-fitting cloth face coverings that could potentially tangle in machinery or power tools.
So standard safety protocols dictate that any student using tools and equipment in technology education be properly attired. So no loose clothing, no loose jewelry, or anything that may hang or get caught in the machinery. And with the masks are supposed to be fitted, so there should not be any looseness whatsoever that could possibly get caught in the equipment.
If students have a study hall, will they be allowed to go home?
So in the past, it's only been seniors that have been able to come in late and leave early. Because of the circumstances this year and the importance of trying to reduce numbers within the building, any student that has a study hall and is in good academic standing will be allowed to leave with parent permission.
Where will students be able to store their backpacks, their lunches, and their sports equipment?
So as I mentioned, we are not using lockers because we want to avoid students congregating within the hallways and next to each other. So with the block scheduling, instead of 8 classes, we've reduced that to 4. So students will be able to carry their materials in their backpack and bring those class to class. Because of the reduction of numbers within the classroom, there'll be room for their backpacks. As far as the sports equipment, Teg and I have been looking at different spaces within the building, looking at the locker rooms, and coming up with what might work best to store equipment, but also keep it separated and sanitized.
Tara,
Great.
can I add to that too? We had also talked about, upperclassmen that drive
Oh,
with the
yes.
sports equipment. So like juniors and seniors, if they're driving, to be able to have their stuff, leave their stuff in their car, and our dismissal plan would account for them being able to get what they need to get ready for practice or game after school.
Great.
We also have a question in the chat that will probably go to you, Teg. On considering sports, will spectators be allowed to be at the games?
So there's some guidance at the state level, and actually in yesterday's CIAC announcement, when they announced moving forward with fall sports initially, they actually strengthened their position statement. Their original position statement really left it at the discretion of the local district. They came out a little bit stronger yesterday, stating that they would prefer limited spectator involvement. But again, it was still left at the discretion at the local level. With that, there's been significant discussion at the state level amongst athletic directors since March. Statewide, athletic directors have been meeting once a week to discuss all the issues that are going on. And especially the last 3 weeks, spectator attendance has been a big one. Within our Shoreline Athletic Conference, of which we're one of 12 schools, we've been discussing all of these issues as well. And a spectator one is something that we've been tracking. Each individual school has been discussing it, and then we came back together, and we actually met this morning again at 8. And for the most part, I think there are probably 11 out of the 12 schools right now are in our conference, who would be the schools that we would be playing if we have contests, are leaning towards no spectators. And we've been discussing about a cohesive, unified stance on that in our conference as well. Schools will differ on this, but some schools have something in place already for live streaming events, and a number of schools, including Westbrook, are investigating if we're fortunate enough to play, but unfortunately not have spectators. We're researching for our field hockey and our soccer teams how we could live stream from here, and I know that would be the same thing over at Old Saybrook for our Old Saybrook Westbrook Football Co-op.
Thank you. If there are other questions that parents or participants have, please put them in the chat so that we can address them for you.
And if I may, Superintendent Charles, I do have just a few more points of information. I just want to let parents know that a guidance letter will be going out next Monday, and that will be informing you of all upcoming dates. We are still hosting our in-school SAT and PSATs on Wednesday, October 14th. As of right now, that is still in place. And for our seniors, because as juniors, their year was cut short, we are offering again the 3-day workshop with Sam Rosen, so that they are reacclimated with the parts of the SAT, and they are comfortable with that, so they're not caught short. And for any freshman parents that are on the meeting tonight, we are going to be scheduling our freshman orientation that will be virtual. But parents, there will be a parent panel discussion where all of the support services and guidance and the athletic director and music boosters and athletic boosters will be on to give you information and help you as a parent transition from the middle school to the high school. We're just waiting on confirmation of the date. And we're hoping to have your freshmen in person for their orientation with our upperclassmen. Also know that our open house will be virtual, and that date will be forthcoming as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When will students receive their schedules?
Great question. So that was something else that I wanted to bring up. We're hoping the beginning of next week, the schedules will be finalized. We are in the middle of the build. Obviously, with trying to look at in-person schedules, hybrid schedules, we wanted to make sure that we had everything considered before we ran a schedule. So we're fortunate not only that we're so small, but that we were able to put those constraints in to allow us to have classes of 10 students or fewer to allow for 6-foot distancing. So you will be notified in that guidance letter of the date of the schedule. And then please know once you've received that, you'll have dates when you can contact your child's guidance counselor if you have any questions or concerns about your child's schedule.
Will there be additional security in place now that teachers are encouraged to hold classes outside?
That's a great question. We are hoping, well, first of all, many of our outside classes are within the courtyard. So we're very fortunate that we have an area that's contained within the 2 buildings. So it is a very secure area, and we're hoping to fit at least 4 classes in that area. This is always a question of concern, even when the students at the high school have lunch at the picnic benches, but we will expect that our monitors are outside supervising our students and keeping them safe.
And if I could add to that also, we did have the police look at the courtyard area, and they approved it as a safe location for the students. And we're also waiting for additional guidance as far as security and the various drills that we do, our fire drills, our shelter in place, those kinds of things. The state is going to come out with specific guidance on how we can practice those so that we maintain those really important protocols. The next question has to do again with lunch. As you mentioned, kids do enjoy eating outside. Have more picnic tables been added for this pleasure?
They will be. They're under construction as we speak. And we've also added additional tables in the gymnasium so that there's movability. And if we need to use those tables for outside while we're waiting for the additional picnic tables, those will be available as well. And I would encourage too, as much as the picnic tables are enjoyable, you know, the cushions or a blanket. We have a beautiful area over there. It's kind of a grassy knoll. So make lunch a little more enjoyable.
Thank you. Is there a deadline to decide if attending school or if a parent chooses for their child to do it virtually?
There's no deadline. The only thing that we ask is that you give us some time to help your child get reacclimated, and make sure that we have everything in place. Again, you know, we've had people that thought they weren't sending their children back and have decided they were. It really depends on how your comfort level, and what the circumstances are and what the mitigating factors are that might affect, you know, your child or your family.
How are the buses going to run this year? Can you talk about bus procedure?
So the buses for the high school are going to run as usual, in the sense that they will drop off in the front of the building, but we will have bus monitors, and we'll also be dismissing one bus at a time to make sure that students, as they get off and enter the building, are masked, still are 6 feet apart, and are directed to go to their first period classes.
And if I could add to that also, we have protocols that we have put in place with the bus company. All students will be wearing their masks. The driver will have a mask. If students forget, the drivers will have a supply of masks in the event that a child forgets it, so that everybody is properly masked when they get on the bus. Students are going to load from the back to the front, and family cohorts will stay together. And then they will dismiss from the front to the back so that students aren't crossing back and forward, you know, in the bus. We're going to ask that students not change their seats mid-ride, and also that there's no eating on the bus, because of course students will be having their masks on, and we don't want them taking them off to be eating on the bus. The next question, what time does the school day begin and end?
So we have the same start time and the same end time. The day will run from 7:50 to 2:20.
How will students be cohorted in the high school?
So in the in-person model, they aren't necessarily cohorted. However, the freshmen obviously have their set classes, as do the sophomores. And because we wanted to prepare for the hybrid model, we have made sure that all of the electives are cohorted 9, 10, and 11, 12. So that if we were to go to from in-person to hybrid, we already have those cohorts established.
How do students check in for the day, and what questions are asked? Are all the students' temperatures going to be taken?
So there is an electronic self-assessment form, and I believe, Pat, is that in our district reopening plan, the actual form?
I don't think the form is yet, but the questions that that are asked, the usual things like if you go to the doctor's appointment, have you had a fever? Do you have a cold, a coughing, vomiting, diarrhea? You know, the major illness particulars. And parents are also asked to take their students' temperature before getting on the bus, and entering that also in the electronic form each day.
We will not be taking students' temperatures as they enter the building.
The next question is, how often and how will parents be informed and communicated with as to how changes are going, as well as if other changes are going to take place? Will it be email or newsletters?
So I think it's important with the reopening that we give a weekly update, just positives, how are things going. I think it's also important, someone asked in the parent question survey last week, will we have a venue to continue asking questions? And I think that's really important, that you continue to ask questions as we move through this. This is ever changing. One day it's one situation, the next day it's another. So asking questions, disseminating information, if things change. Our mode of communication, we usually use school messenger. So the information would go out to parents via school messenger. If there were smaller groups and it were more efficient to email, we could certainly do that as well. And if there are individual concerns, I've had some really wonderful phone calls the last few weeks. It's been really great to talk with parents, hear what their concerns are, try to answer their questions and have ongoing dialogue. It's really helpful for us to hear from you and to get a sense of what you're feeling, what you're dealing with, what your concerns are for your child.
The next question, are there restrictions on library access?
No, there are no restrictions. We would just make sure, again, that there are only so many students in the library. Obviously, any books that are given out or anything that they're using would then have to be sanitized, because we're asking that materials not be shared. We want to make sure that we're keeping a close eye on that. But the library is a wonderful learning environment. Ms. Esposito is just full of life, and, it's kind of a meeting place, if you will. We're just going to have to make sure we're meeting 6 feet apart. She's been doing some wonderful things over the summer on her classroom page, helping students pick out books. And she's been sending out lists and having them choose books that they would like to read over the summer, and then having those ready for them. That way we know what's gone out, who it has gone to, so that when it is returned, we make sure that that's properly handled.
The next is a series of COVID questions. So first, how are parents informed if a student is positive for COVID-19?
If their child
Yes. Yeah, how would a parent be informed?
So if a child came to school and wasn't feeling well, or was exhibiting any symptoms, they would be sent to the nurse. Once the nurse made an assessment, and any of the criteria for concerns were met, that child would then be sent with the nurse's aide to the isolation room. The parent would be called and the child would be picked up. And obviously you would have to bring your child to his or her pediatrician and have a test. And that would be the way you would know your child was confirmed.
And we would also be following up with the health
Department of
director.
Public Health, yes.
Right. And they would initiate tracing if there was suspecting COVID-19 positive. So then the next question is, who is then quarantined? And if you want me to answer that? Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
So the quarantining is done after the contact tracing. And so the Department of Health would help us and our school nurses would help us in identifying who came in contact with that student. And those parents would certainly be notified. And the contact tracing with who they had been in contact with would continue. The next part of the question is the positive students cohort and teachers. If there is a positive COVID, does the school automatically go to virtual learning? No, not necessarily. The whole school would not go to virtual learning. It's possible that the school could close for a day or two for intensive cleaning and to allow the, depending upon how widespread the contact tracing was and how involved that was, it could result in the school closing down, or it could result in just the cohort of students in a particular class, potentially, depending upon, again, how widespread the contact was. I don't see any other questions at the moment. We'll give people another minute to ask some more questions.
Sure. And what I would say is if you have questions that are specific to your child and you feel as though, you know, you would like to have a private or personal one-on-one conversation, please feel free to give me a call, to email me, to discuss any information or concerns that you might have. As I said, you know, it's really been beneficial and helpful as we move forward. So I would encourage you to do that.
Maybe while we're waiting we have a couple more questions coming in, but again, on the COVID question, what they're looking for when they're determining about who's been in contact with somebody, they're really looking for anybody that's been in contact with the person within 6 feet and for 15 minutes or more. The next question is there a plan in place for non-compliance with mask wearing?
So what we're hoping for is by educating our students and helping them understand the importance of mask wearing, that we won't have those kinds of issues. We're here to support and encourage our students to remain safe and healthy. It's important that they understand that this isn't an infringement on their rights, but we're in a health crisis and we all need to work together and follow the requirements in order to keep each other safe and healthy.
The next question is, how can you contact trace a COVID positive student who was eating lunch with other students the day before? And those are exactly the kinds of questions that would be asked by the health director or that person's designee. They would be asking the child, who did you eat with? Who were you sitting next to? And so those are the very questions that they would be asking. The next question is, will there be mask breaks very often?
Yes. So mask breaks need to happen on a need or an as need basis. At the high school, I think we're going to have a little more flexibility in that we're dealing with young adults. And not only will there be mask breaks within the block classes, but just as students know when they need to use the bathroom, they'll know when they need a mask break, and students will be allowed to leave the classroom to go outside for a mask break. We're also trying to take advantage of the transitioning from class to class outside, where they would also be able to remove their mask as long as they're 6 feet apart. And obviously, you know, we've had some very warm weather. So we would encourage teachers to monitor the temperature within the classrooms and make sure that there are sufficient and frequent mask breaks. Also, sorry, I was going to say, you know, during lunch, obviously, when students are eating or drinking, you need to remove your mask. You know, at lunchtime, they're going to hopefully be able to use their tri-fold plexiglass dividers. So there'll be time at lunch where they can have an extended mask break so that they have time to breathe.
I was also going to suggest that that students come with more than one mask, so if they get hot and sweaty, that they can switch out their mask and be comfortable throughout the day. Looking for any additional questions? Will teachers be asked to wear masks in the classroom?
Yes. It's required for both teachers and students that they wear their masks while they're within the building. If a teacher feels it necessary that he or she remove a mask while teaching, they need to be behind their plexiglass divider and also 10 feet from their students.
The next question is, does the type of mask matter? And I know that there's been a lot of talk lately about the use of gaiters, and I was on a video conference with the Department of Health this week, and they were saying that that they had a test that if you could blow out a candle through your mask, whatever type of mask you are, then it's not a very good mask. But they also said that any mask is better than no mask at all. They talked about gaiters because there's some research that's recently come out, I guess, that gaiters don't protect as well as like a surgical type mask. And but if you doubled up the material of the gaiter, that it would be a better protection. All right, there's a couple of questions now about the trifold plexiglass shields, and two
Sure.
questions asking us to elaborate on what they are and how will they be used.
Sure. So we have ordered trifold plexiglass dividers for every student and every teacher. And so the student can carry this divider with them to each of the classes. And so it's just that extra barrier. They're clear, so you can see, you know, in front of you or to the sides of you. And it's just an additional barrier for the students' protection, for the teachers' protection. They can also use these at lunchtime so that when their masks are off, they've got the plexiglass in front of them. And again, just an extra safety measure that we thought it was important to have.
What is the protocol for using the bathrooms?
So we are encouraging students to use the bathroom during class because of the directional flow within the building and the 6-foot distancing and trying to avoid congregation. We're not going to have students going to the bathroom during passing time. We ask that they get to their classroom, they sign out, and they go one at a time. We are going to have hallway monitors and bathroom monitors to ensure that measure. That way, we also know that we are cleaning and sanitizing the bathrooms where necessary.
Are teachers going to be able to use fans?
No.
Yeah, the feeling is that that will blow around air droplets, water droplets, and potentially spread viral particles. The follow-up to that is, if any of the rooms have air conditioning, will it be used? And the answer to that one is yes. If
We
it's,
don't
if
have
it's
air conditioning. What air conditioning? Wait.
Yeah, not many rooms have it, but if we've got it, yes, we will be able to use it. The vents in all the rooms have been increased for the amount of fresh air coming in, and every evening there'll be 100% fresh air, provided the humidity is acceptable, but normally it is, and so we'll be able to flush all the rooms with fresh air every day after school. What products do you use to clean plexiglass each day? I don't know if I specifically know the name of the product,
Yeah.
but we've been
It's good.
given a list of approved cleaning products, and those have been purchased in advance, and so students would be able to use that on their plastic shields and disinfect in that way.
And there'll also be hand sanitizer. There'll be Monk wipes, and is it the 195 spray? Just like when you enter a grocery store, we'll have all of that available to the teachers, to the students. And again, if it is okay at the high school if your student carries hand sanitizer with them. I believe that's acceptable as well. But again, we encourage hand washing and following trying not to touch your face, and, following the appropriate health protocols for prevention.
Okay, looking for any more questions?
Oops, sorry. I keep going back to the tornado in Oz. That's popping up on me. We good?
I think we're good. Yeah.
All right. Well, again, I would like to thank all of the high school parents and students that attended this evening. My fellow administrators, I would like to thank you for joining me. It's been a wonderfully supportive and collaborative journey as we move through to the reopening of our schools that we're so excited about and so looking forward to. Again, please don't hesitate to call, to email. And again, please stay safe, stay healthy. And I will leave you with this quote: trust the wait, embrace the uncertainty, enjoy the beauty of becoming. When nothing is certain, anything is possible. So have a wonderful night, everybody.